All right, hello everybody. So as you know, I'm Henry Gardner. I'm the Regional Affairs for Create, and I'm going to be your moderator for this morning. So first of all, I would just like to thank you all for tuning in today for Get Out the Vote this morning. This event is brought to you by the Student Senate for California Community Colleges in partnership with the Band of Voters, which you'll be hearing more about shortly. We'll be getting in 5 minutes, and until then, I would like to encourage all of you to check out our social media at SSCCC to see how we engage with community college students across the state and through political advocacy. Thank you.
Now the question is if I remember my Facebook password. All right, so I'm going to do my best to get that set up as we go. But here, let me see. There. All right. Let me actually screen share my just this one. There. Okay. All right. All righty. So Henry, actually, I'm going to give you. No, it's okay, actually. So if you want to start, I'm going to get the stream up in the background.
All right. If we're ready to get going, then I will get going. So I know that wasn't quite 5 minutes, everybody, but I would like to begin by thanking all of you once again for attending this morning. Getting up at 10 a.m., especially when some of you are still on summer break, is incredibly early. So I'm grateful that all of you have decided to attend. Now, planning this, a lot of surprising statistics were thrown at us in terms of how community college students vote or how often they even don't. Voter demographics over the past few years have rarely considered the community college vote. And I think older folk, people with health insurance, and those with workforce programs centered around voter engagement are quite more in the know for this. So this year, we are working to change this mindset of not considering community college student voices as an impactful vote by showing all of you how to vote, ways to get engaged in your community, and about some of the propositions you can vote on today. While the barriers such as missing a deadline, lacking information, or not understanding the value of your vote have prevailed over the past few years, I'm asking all of you to stand alongside myself, the SSCCC, and the California Community College system and get out your vote. Even amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, the student vote can be an effective tool in creating change we all know is necessary. So today, to empower that motive, you'll be hearing from esteemed speakers such as Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, Assistant Vice Chancellor Linda Vasquez, Deputy Secretary of State Lizette Mata, and directly from our students. Who better to talk with us about the student voter experience than two of our students here with us today? Before we jump into that, here's a quick video from a California Community College system on why you should vote. Ben, if you'd like to take it away.
Yeah, let me see if I can. I'm just trying to. All right. All right. All right, let me know if, I apologize for the plane. I do live like right next to an airport. Let me know if you can see this. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
All right. And here we go.
You should vote because if you don't use your voice, then the environment doesn't have one.
You should vote to create change, express your opinion, and help your community.
You should vote because voting is an opportunity to create change.
You should vote because the policies being voted on directly affect community college students, whether that be through student loan rates, educational standards, or admissions policies.
You should vote in order to ensure that every level of government has representation that is reflective of the populations of this country, and in order to effect positive and equitable change for communities of color.
You should vote because when my great-grandma was born, she could not vote. And when my grandma was born, she could not get a home loan in her own name. And when my mother was born, she could not get a credit card on her own. So vote because you can. I know I will.
You should vote because it's an opportunity, a privilege, and our civic responsibility.
You should vote because voting is one of the best ways to make your voice be heard. Voting is your opportunity to decide the future of our community, our state, and our nation. Every vote counts. So learn more about the candidates and the important issues on the November ballot. And remember, it's your future, so vote.
You should vote because democracy doesn't work unless we all participate.
You should vote because your vote really does matter and it will make a difference.
You should vote because it is our duty to uphold democracy, and democracy doesn't work unless we all participate. It really is something that we have the ability and opportunity to overthrow the government every 2 years.
You should vote because your vote quite literally changes history. Vote with your friends, vote with your family, and vote for those who can't vote for the matters that mean the most to you. So this upcoming election on Tuesday, November 3rd, come out, show out, and vote with us.
You should vote because historically young adults aged 18 to 24 have voted at much lower rates than older voters despite our large numbers. And we have a chance to change this statistic and make a real difference.
I encourage you to vote when your voice will be as strong and vibrant as anybody else's. The day after the election, if you didn't vote, you have nobody to blame but yourself.
All right, thank you for that video. I would like to give a brief shout out to our Vice President of Communications, Brianna Ross, for putting together that video. It was a great help for us, and as you can tell, we worked pretty hard in getting some speakers for that. Now for our student speakers. So starting off, our first student is Benjamin Blevins. Benjamin is a political science major who started with the SSCCC in fall 2019 after graduating from Point Loma High School. He joined his student government as Director of Student Legislation for Grossmont College, and then went on to serve as the Vice Chair and Regional Affairs Director for Region 10. As our current Vice President of Regional Affairs, he supervises the management and oversight of the organization, demonstrating a commitment to excellence at all times. After college, the native San Diegan aspires to serve his community. Additionally, the student accompanying him today is Cadence Tobias. Cadence is a political science major at Grossmont College, where she serves as the Vice President of the Political Science Club, editor for the Political Economy Journal, and a teaching assistant for political science courses at the college. She's also the current Director of Student Legislation or Student Body Association and the Legislative Affairs Director for Region 10 of the SSCCC. She hopes to continue her work in public service as she pursues a legal career. So without further ado, take it away, guys.
All right. Are you ready, Cadence?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to say first off, we really appreciate having this opportunity. I know I speak for Ben and myself today when I say we're incredibly enthusiastic and appreciative for the chance to kind of speak to you all. As student leaders, we've seen the direct consequences of students not realizing just how impactful their vote is. And on the flip side, we've seen the immense changes that have resulted because of the student vote. And that's why we're going to be sharing these slides with you all today.
All right, thank you, Cadence. Okay, moving on, starting with Get Out the Vote. So we just want to introduce you to the webinar. This is Get Out the Vote with the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, and this is presented by myself and Cadence Tobias. Do you want to do
no.
Yeah, I was like...
Now, community college students have historically been one of the most difficult voters to engage compared to traditional campus efforts because of varied schedules, multiple campus locations, and work obligations. We have an incredibly diverse population, and because of that, it's been incredibly difficult to engage with our voters. Now, because of that, 1 in 4 eligible community college voters are not registered. Yet, 18 to 24-year-olds are the lowest represented age group in the state. And the student vote fully has the capability to sway an election. And that's why we're here today, to really encourage student participation in voting.
Yeah, so hopping by that, or hopping off of that, we represent one of the largest populations in the state, and we are the least represented. So if we get united, if we get together, there's no stopping what we can do. So moving on. So let's talk about deadlines for a second, because deadlines in voting can make or break your voting status and if your ballot is counted. So your primary election deadline, that was on February 17th, 2020. And that was basically to register to vote for the primary election. So you needed to be registered by that date in order to vote. And then your primary election was held on March 3rd, 2020. So that was basically, so in California, our primary system works differently. In most states, you see the top two parties hold a primary, meaning always there will be two people from two different parties in that primary. California does it differently. We do it in what's called a jungle primary. And what that will basically mean is you could end up with 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, 2 Green Party candidates. You can end up with whoever gets the top 2 slots. Whoever is the top 2 vote getters in that election go forward to the general. And actually in San Diego County and in the San Diego City elections for mayor, that's exactly what happened. We have 2 Democrats running for mayor at this point, including 3 city council districts, and our city attorney's election is 2 Democrats running for office. And that's just to promote the better good of the state. And it makes sure that the best candidates move forward, regardless of party. Your general election deadline is October 19th, 2020. And that is to vote not provisionally. That is not a provisional vote. That is, if you register by that date, you will be voted, it will be counted. But your provisional deadline is voting day. You can register to vote on November 3rd, but your vote will be provisional, which means pending all your verification. So the general election, as you all most likely, hopefully know, is going to be on November 3rd, 2020, and it will always be on that day. Every 2 years, it will always be on that day. And that is set forth, I believe, Cadence, correct me if I'm wrong, in our Constitution.
You are correct.
Yes. So it's the first Wednesday or Tuesday?
Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah, I believe it's the first Wednesday of November that the election day happens. So, or no, looking back, it's the first Tuesday, because this month it was a bit different. So your election day this year is going to be November 3rd, 2020. Cadence, is there anything that I missed?
No, you covered everything on that slide. Thank you.
All right, moving forward.
Awesome. So now let's cover where you can vote. We're in a really interesting time considering the circumstances of COVID-19. However, whether at your school or at home, you have the choice on where you want to register to vote. California community college students can register at their campus address or choose to remain registered or register at their home address. However, the thing is, you can only register at one location. So as long as you keep that in mind, when you are registering, you are going to be set up and good to go. And Benjamin, are you ready to move on to the next slide?
Yeah, just I wanted to kind of come off of that. You may only register to vote at one location. You cannot be registered in multiple different states. That is a crime. That is voter fraud, and that's not good. And it demeans our elections. And just remember to always check your registration after you move. Making sure that you are registered to vote in your new house. Let's see, going to school, you can register to vote at your school, or you can vote absentee at your house. So I know that there's a lot of confusion about where students will be this year, if they're going to be on campus or if they're going to be at home. But remember that you can always vote absentee from your home address. So moving forward, let's do this. Let's see. So in order to vote, you have to have 3 things. You have to have your California ID number or your California driver's license number. You can have either or. I believe if you have a driver's license, that supplements the ID number, and you need your last 4 of your social security number. So the Secretary of State's office recommends bringing ID with you when you go to vote. Such ID can include a driver's license, an identification card, a student ID, a US passport, a copy of a recent utility bill, the county voter information guide sent to you by the county elections office, or any document sent to you by a government agency. And that is really just to protect the institutions of voting and voter fraud, like I said before. Cadence, anything you want to say on that?
No, that completely encompasses it, because it's really important making sure that your registration requirements are met in a timely manner, just to make everything much easier on yourself and everyone else involved.
I could not agree more. This process should be the smoothest in the world. It should. Voting needs to be, should be, and will be a very smooth process for you. You can pre-register when you're 16. You know, you can pre-register. I believe it when you get your license, you can pre-register, or you could just pre-register in general on the website. So that way, when you are 18, like the day you hit 18, it'll register you register you whatever party preference. If you did pick a party preference, something I did want to say about party preference is if you don't pick a party, you cannot vote in that party's primary. There's shifts with this in the Democratic Party. And in the Green Party, you can vote in their primary. It's an open primary, but you cannot vote. I believe the Republican Party was a closed party primary this year. So just do remember that if you do register no party preference, you can only vote in the general election for the Republican candidate. But I believe this year you could vote in the Democratic primary.
Awesome. So COVID-19 and voting. So due to the COVID-19 pandemic, all registered California voters will be mailed an absentee ballot. You don't need to apply for it to be mailed. Now, secure drop boxes will be placed in each county as an option for returning your absentee ballot. If returned by mail, your ballot must be postmarked on or before the election day and must be received by the 17th day following election day. Now, you can find more information about Dropbox locations and vote center dates, hours, and locations CA Early Voting, sos.ca.gov. And Benjamin, I know you actually had additional notes about this concerning absentee ballots and the COVID-19 pandemic.
So we actually have some people from the, some guest speakers from the Secretary of State's office that I don't want to step on their toes. One of the things I will say is don't let your vote go uncounted. You know, and that's something that we're really seeing a problem with, unfortunately, is with the United States Postal Service. So if you want to go the extra mile, go to your registrar of voters. Drop it off the day of or before, preferably before, to your registrar of voters. So that's all. I'm not going to step on their toes. I'm not as great as the speakers you're going to hear, but moving forward. So how can I vote? So you can vote 3 different ways. So you can, well, not 3 different ways, 2 different ways. I apologize. You can vote by mail and you can vote in person. Now, in-person voting is going to look different this year, obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic. As we saw in Wisconsin during the Democratic primaries, there was a lot of confusion over should I go, should I not? And it raised some questions of voter fraud. It raised some questions of, is voting safe? You know, can I be safe while voting? And the best thing to do in that case scenario is mail in your ballot. Mail in your ballot. It comes with prepaid postage. You don't have to pay to vote. You know, this is not, you don't have to pay a poll tax. This is, you don't have to pay for postage. This is, you could just send it in. You should just be able to mail it. You have to sign the envelope that it comes on and make sure that, you know, that signature matches up with the signature on your driver's license or your identification card. And then you can vote no later than 7 days. You can vote by mail, or you can turn in an application to vote by mail no later than 7 days before election day. Cadence, do you want to cover in-person voting and election day?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would like to note that all COVID-19 restrictions are going to be followed, whether that be through social distancing, encouragement of mask wearing. And it's going to be a relatively safe process of which things are going to be very much so under control. Now, voting sites will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on election day. If you're in line by the closing time, then you have a right to vote. Some counties permit voters to cast their ballots in person before Election Day, and you may wish to contact your county election officials to determine if they're going to be offering in-person early voting. Now, Ben, would you like to cover Election Day itself?
Sure. Again, I do apologize for the plane. It's the joys of living next to an international airport. So you find out where your drop box locations are. Find out what your vote center offers hours of operation are. I know for San Diego County, Grossmont College, my personal college, is a polling site. We're a verified polling place by the Secretary of State's office. And that's amazing. You know, that opens up a bunch. The campus is big. It allows for social distancing, and it has ample parking. So just make sure that you are following the county and city restrictions and guidelines when voting. Voting is your right. You will never be turned away from the polls unless it is after hours, but please make sure that you get there by 8 p.m. Like Cadence said, you might have to wait a few hours if the line is very long, but you have a right to vote when you are in the line. That is simply your right as an American. And you know, if someone tries to tell you that you can't vote because they've closed or something along those lines, you know, call your registrar of voters. You know, call the Secretary of State's office. There's a hotline that I believe it's like it's a voter help hotline. I'll try and see if I can't find that and put it in the chat. But that will be extremely helpful if you do face problems voting or problems with accessibility issues as well. All right, moving on. All right, we have a little video for you. So let's watch that. This is from the Secretary of State's office.
Election officials work hard to maintain the integrity, security, and privacy of elections in California. If you vote by mail, have you ever wondered what happens to your ballot when you send it in? Returned ballots are received at the elections office where they are processed and counted. Each voter's ballot envelope has a unique barcode that gives you credit for voting. This ensures that each voter can only vote once. Every signed ballot envelope is compared to signatures on file for the voter in our database. If your signature matches, your ballot moves on to the next step. The two most common reasons a ballot envelope is challenged are the envelope isn't signed or the signature doesn't match the voter's record. If your signature is missing or does not match your registration record, your county elections office will provide you an opportunity to fix it. When voters' signatures are verified, ballot envelopes are opened and the ballot is removed, unfolded, and prepared for processing through scanners which total up the votes. Results are tabulated and released after the polls close on election night. When you vote by mail, you can be assured that your vote counts and that your ballot is both secure and private. Some counties offer a new service called Where's My Ballot, which provides automatic updates on the status of your vote by mail ballot by email, text message, or voice call. Visit where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to sign up. And all California voters can find out whether their vote-by-mail ballot was counted by visiting voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. If you are one of the millions of...
Whoops, all right. That's not what I wanted to do. All right. Like that video said, well, unlike actually what that video said, we might not get election results on election night. So for the Georgia primaries and for the Georgia elections, it took about 10 days for them to, you know, give us official election results. So something that, you know, I know that we all sit at the TV behind our favorite news channel and watch the returns come in, but something that we might have to, you know, get accustomed to is while more people are voting, you know, this is the cause of a surge in voting. And it is good, but it does take time. And it takes time as well to verify the voter registration and voter statuses. You know, there'll be scenes on election night, I guarantee you this happens every year, of like the registrar of voters and all these volunteers going through ballots and putting them into the computer. It is a tedious process to, you know, go through it. And then if there's a recount necessary in a certain state, that is something that we have to look at as well. And so just be prepared that the election results might not be available on election day. Cadence, do you have anything to add to that video?
No, that completely covers it. Thank you.
That's a really useful video, you know? California does offer the Where's My Ballot. That is extremely important as well. California has been great in mail-in ballots. I will just say that, you know, in making sure that all ballots are accessible.
Awesome. So let's just cover a really quick frequently asked questions concerning federal financial aid. I think it's important to remember that where you register to vote will not affect federal financial aid such as Pell Grants, Perkins, or Stafford loans, or your dependency status for FAFSA. Now your status is dependent on your guardian's taxes. Even if you are registered to vote at a different address from your parents, that does not prevent them from claiming you as a dependent on their taxes. And for tuition status, being deemed out of state for tuition purposes does not prevent you from choosing to register to vote in your campus community.
Thank you, Cadence. Yeah, we will get through this relatively quickly. We do have a speaker at 10:30. I'll go on with these. Cadence, you can probably talk a little bit more to Prop 16 than I can. Prop 15 closes a loophole, and it would require commercial and industrial properties, except those zoned as commercial agriculture, to be taxed based on their market value. It's talking about Prop 13. Prop 13, it basically allowed you to have this proposition state taxes moving forward. Proposition 13 was designed to help homeowners. It was not designed to help businesses. It was designed to help homeowners. And what we've learned now is that companies like Disneyland are paying pennies to what they should be paying in taxes. And so this is just closing a loophole. So all of these propositions that you're about to hear on, the SSCCC has taken a stance of support on. And we would encourage you to vote yes on all of these propositions. So Cadence?
Now, Proposition 16 is a constitutional amendment that would repeal Proposition 209, passed in 1996 from the California Constitution. It would essentially allow for affirmative action programs to be reinstated across the state, which would promote more diversity, inclusion, and equity into our education system. Now, the California community colleges are an incredibly diverse population, and it's important that we reflect that in our higher education hiring processes and in how we are admitting our students. So while the Student Senate has its official position as voting on yes, we would encourage you to look into more on these propositions.
And just letting you know, there are a bunch of propositions on the ballot. Please note that, you know, they range from Prop 15, Prop 16, letting 17-year-olds vote in the primary when they will be 18 by election day. And then make sure that the date of publication or most recent update is listed. And, you know, was this evidence vetted? You know, are these reliable sources? So I believe that wraps up. Yeah, you have some resources. You have the ballot bowl. You have the resolutions and memorandums of understandings. We have some toolkits for you. And you can always find more information at sos.ca.gov/elections/CA students vote /college-students. I believe I got through everything.
Well, congratulations, and thank you all so much for this opportunity to allow us to really speak to you all today concerning voting, and I hope you guys have a little bit of a better understanding. Now our moderator is going to introduce our next speaker, so Henry, if you'd like to take it away.
We're very excited to welcome, but all right, and that's—
All right,
yeah.
Ben, hold your horses, hold your horses. All right, thank you, Ben and Cadence, for taking the time today to share with us. It was very helpful. I'm sure many people here appreciate that. So let's give them a virtual round of applause. This is going to be something we're going to be trying to do across this whole webinar, but if you guys would like to do that, please do that now. Otherwise, our next speaker is Linda Vasquez. She's the Assistant Vice Chair for State and Federal Relations, and Linda Vasquez has been a champion for community college students. As many of you may already know, she has an immense experience in advocating for community college student vote. Yet beyond this, she has 15 years of experience working in higher education and advocacy, which led her to this work. In fact, it was after beginning her professional career at Rio Hondo College, Region 8, represent, where she found her passion for community college advocacy. As a student services representative, she's helped students navigate the complex assessment, enrollment, and financial aid process. This pivotal role led her to pursue a graduate degree in educational policy and a career to dismantle structural barriers to student success. It is from these experiences that she has not only advocated for, but directly worked alongside students in improving their experiences and breaking down systemic barriers. Today, she is here to share more about the community college student voter experience. So, Linda Vasquez, take it away.
Do you need to share some slides, Linda?
We're going to need to unmute her.
Muted. Oh, haha. Okay, let me make her a co-host so she can unmute herself as she pleases.
Oh, there it goes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I think you can, yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the welcome. I'm seeing the list of participants on the right, and I recognize some names. And so I say, hello to you, Colm, and a few others. Thanks for having me. I know you have an incredible, stellar list of panelists, and it's a privilege to be a part of the speakers list and a part of this conversation. I am the Assistant Vice Chancellor for State and Federal Relations at the California Community College Chancellor's Office. Some of you know that I am somewhat new to this position. I'm about 2 months in, but not new to higher ed advocacy. And as mentioned earlier, not new to the community college family. They've always had a really important part in my heart because that is where I started my career. And I think many of you may know me through my days at the Campaign for College Opportunity, where I was relentless in ensuring that community college students were front and center in higher education policy decision making. But I think what a lot of people don't know about me is that I am a Mexican immigrant. I was born in Mexico, and I was a baby when my family immigrated to the United States. And I didn't realize this growing up, but we were undocumented. And my family, when I was about in middle school, we would camp out at the Santa Ana immigration centers waiting to get our permanent residency application in. And I remember camping out for 2 days, and that may seem so unreal to you, but back then there was, during the amnesty program, there was, I wouldn't say more leniency, but there was the opportunity to get applications in, and that line does not exist. What people say, get in line, does not exist, but we were able to get residency for my family, and that has shaped my trajectory in civic engagement, my trajectory in higher education, and my trajectory in becoming a leader, because I have never taken for granted the right that I have been, that I have to vote, and those magical 9 numbers you call a Social Security number, because I recognize that I may not be able to do the things that I am doing now with that Social Security, and that includes voting. So, what that has taught me is that my voice and my vote should not go unused. So that is one of the important takeaways I want to leave you with here, is that if you can vote, don't let that go for granted. And if nothing else moves you to vote for, other than what you're seeing happening around you, vote for those who can't. So, I've been asked to join today to share, not only the importance of local, state, and federal advocacy and voting, but a little bit about the Chancellor's Office work, the community college student and system role in civic engagement. And one thing I want to note is that, you're not just voting for the next president of the United States in November. You're voting for, local tax measures. You're talking about the next school board member who's going to hire their next superintendent. You're voting for the next Board of Education member who's going to make decisions about school district budgets, $1 million budgets. You're voting for the next Board of Supervisor who will decide public and health safety measures. Now, all of those are local examples. You are also going to be voting for who's up for re-election for the Assembly and the Senate. Propositions, you heard earlier, Proposition 1516. And all of that does not include, the next, chief of this country. Those are all important measures, leadership roles that you have a voice in determining who's going to be in that role, and what's, what our state leaders are going to be, what we're going to be you're determining for the future of the state and the country, is what I'm trying to say. You're not just voting for the next president. So I think it was mentioned earlier is that, don't take advantage, don't let this vote go by the wayside. Vote like your life depends on it. And I know that this conversation is about getting out the vote. But you can still do a lot if you are not able to vote. You can be politically active, you can engage your community, you can empower them to vote, you can volunteer, and you can organize. Now, a little bit about the role that higher education institutions play in voting and civic engagement. I did want to note that, you know, the chancellor, our system leadership, and our formidable board of governors are very supportive, and thank you all for this work. Thank you much, SSCCC, for your leadership to mobilize this incredibly important conversation. You know, Chancellor Oakley did send out a letter to the college presidents and superintendents earlier in August, urging them to have their designated employee, which is required under AB 936, register their institution for the ballot bowl. We value our partnership with the Secretary of State's office and his incredible staff, and the Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis and her amazing staff. Both offices have been leading Herculean efforts, and it's truly a pleasure to be supporting this work at our individual colleges. We've also been encouraging our colleges to utilize the tools and information that has been created by the Secretary of State's office. The videos, the graphics, the collateral, all of that is really important to spreading the message online and building broad awareness about the importance of voting. But let's be real, at the end of the day, that collateral won't amount to anything if we don't show up to vote or send in our ballot. There is strength in numbers. You know, we think about the millions of people and millions of students who think their vote doesn't count, and that could lead up to millions. And what if each of us showed up to vote? That amounts for a lot. So that's the last message I want to leave you with, is think about the importance, the history, and the legacy you're leaving with your vote. And don't let that go for granted. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Linda. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know that I can speak on behalf of all of us again, that we appreciate the time that you're taking to come speak with us today and speak to us today. So now, without further ado, we're going to moving on to our next speakers. So we have our Student Vote Project Coordinator, Krishni Shankar. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, Krishni, but moving forward. And we have Deputy Secretary of State, Lizette Mata. And at this time, they're going to be sharing more about the ballot bowl and mail-in voting. So if you guys would like to take it away, we can go and unmute you and have you guys ready to go.
Thank you very much. Do you have the slides?
I do. Let's see how well I can do this. All right, can you all see this?
Perfect. Yes, I can see it. And can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, good. So thank you very much for inviting us to participate in this event. We sincerely appreciate it. This is very important leading up to the general elections to share this information. And so thank you for your time. My name is Lizette Mata. I'm the Deputy Secretary of State for Operations and also the Director of the California Students Vote Project. And with me, I have Krishni Shankar, who is the coordinator for the Students Vote Project and helping answer all questions related to Students Vote, and also the person on the ground who's making all the magic happen behind the screen, behind this day, and pretty much and all of the bringing you all the social media messages and all of the coordinated efforts. So definitely here to answer anything you may need. But with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Slide. So one of the reasons why we started the California Students Vote Project, we've realized that voting is a habit that if begun early can develop lifelong voters. Youth 18 to 24 are the least likely of any eligible age group to register to vote and turn out to vote. 8% of eligible youth aged 18 to 24 voted in the 24 general election, and only 52% of eligible youth were even registered to vote. Which meant was more than 20% below any other age group. From January 2014 through February 2015, just 8,454 of the 2.8 million students at California's public colleges and universities registered to vote through an online opportunity provided by their campus, a mere 0.3% of the student body. To us, that was a really stark reality when we first started looking at developing the Students Vote project. We realized that while there are many tools like Turbo Vote, Rock the Vote, and at that point, the state hadn't had a coordinated effort with those tools. So this data that is being reported as the state data to the legislature is a reflection of people using our direct link. And I'll talk more about a little bit more about that in the later slides. But every single campus, UC, community college, CSU, and now even private universities have a unique identifying link that that logs in directly to our voter registration system. And in order for people to be counted as a registration on campus, they need to use that link. So that's where this data is coming from. Slide. So addressing the problem. In 2016, the California Students Vote Project was established by the California Secretary of State, Alex Padilla, in partnership with then California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom and a coalition of nonprofit organizations, including CalPERG, California Common Cause, Asian Americans Advancing Justice, and it was bolstered by landmark memorandums of understandings and resolutions between California university systems, including the CSU, the California Community Colleges, the CSUs, the University of California, and the Association of California Independent Colleges and Universities. Believe it or not, this was the first time that any state in the nation had such a partnership where with the Secretary of State's office, with all of its higher education institutions, where the priority was on increasing voter registration and making sure that civic engagement was a priority. So even now, 4 years later, we're still meeting with other states and they're trying very, very much so to mimic what we've done here. So just the simple fact that we are having this discourse, that we're having this conversation about the importance of voting is something that many other states have a really difficult time in putting together. So again, I commend these efforts and I really, really appreciate the partnership that we've established here. Slide. Some of the commitments that are included in the California Students Vote project, as part of the MOUs and the resolutions, we agreed to amplify voter registration messages via the Secretary of State's press office and social media platforms. We agreed to provide voter registration materials and supplies, give the necessary technical support to guarantee students receive effective online registration opportunities, attend on-campus voter registration events whenever possible, and facilitate conversations between student leaders, campus administration, and county elections offices when needed in order to efficiently register students to vote. Now, this is just a really high-level commitment because it actually is quite detailed. We do everything from creating toolkits to creating social media messages, to creating newsletter language, to creating email drafts for staff and for students. What we want to make sure we do as an office is provide, to make it as easy as possible for any campus and any university to be able to share with their students, irrespective of their size, irrespective of their resources. Slide. So the progress of the California Students Vote Project. The California Students Vote Project saw quick and exciting results since its inception within the first 3 months of 2016, seeing over 200,000 youth registered to vote. By October 2018, prior to the 2018 general election, the Secretary of State received over 2.5 million registrations by young voters. This incredible increase in registrations correlated with the drastic increase in eligible youth voter turnout during midterm general elections, with youth eligible voter turnout at 27.5 in 2018 compared to 8.2 turnout in 2014. Slide. AB 963. So in 2019, AB 963, the Student Civic Engagement and Empowerment Act, codified the California Student Vote Project into state law. This is also a really exciting opportunity for our state because this is the first time that a state in the nation, again, was now making it, codifying a project into law with the intent of making sure that civic engagement was a priority. This bill secured funding for the Secretary of State's office to continue the mission of engaging students in the democratic process by providing funding for 2 permanent positions to fully staff the work. This bill secured funding for community colleges to hire civic voter empowerment coordinators. And it also laid out requirements of the CSU community colleges and the UC by ensuring that student emails went out to students at the beginning of each academic year with key civic engagement dates, to include a link to update voter registration on the student portal, share social media posts relating to civic engagement, and develop a civic and voter empowerment action plan. So again, this was all, none of this was completely brand new. That was part of the reason why we were able to make this so successful and work together, in that many campuses were already doing it. But this just, AB 963 enabled for all campuses to know that this was now a partnership that we all needed to make sure was prioritized. Next slide, please. So ballot bowl. In 2018, the Secretary of State's office launched the inaugural California University and College Ballot Bowl, a 9-week-long competition where participants competed to register students. This culminated in nearly 11,000 students registering to vote, almost doubling the amount registered for the 2014 midterm election using the Secretary of State online registration system. The inaugural bowl saw over 45 campuses participate and compete, and the competition also brought the Secretary of State new ideas on effective outreach to college students. Now, the winning campus in 2018 was Cal Poly. And this year, there's a lot of really amazing competition. We have CSU Fullerton, Cal Poly, UC Berkeley. I know Chabot College is also very much interested in participating and is doing amazing work on the ground. Slide, please. So this year's ballot bowl competition is underway. There are 4 competition elements broken down by the 4 California higher education systems. The largest number of students registered, largest percentage of its student body registered, most creative methods to registering students, and the new option is the largest number of registrations at an on-campus polling place or vote center. So again, we fully understand that not every single campus has all of these items. Not every, and it's not fair for a big campus to compete against a very smaller campus, which is why we try to create fairness and equity in terms of size as well, and in terms of creativity. The competition is tracked by capturing voter registrations using a specific registration link and through paper registrations. So even if you need paper registrations, we can make sure we get those to you. What we do is you submit the request to us, whether it's 1,000, 2,000, a bulk order, and we track those unique IDs on each one of those registrations. So no matter when they come in or when they're mailed back, it will be your school, your campus will receive the credit for that registration. You can also learn more about the ballot bowl at ballotbowl.sos.ca.gov. And also, one of the things I wanted to share about the ballot bowl before I go into this poll worker slide. So this year, we're midway through. We're at the halfway point. And one of the things I'm particularly excited about is that just within the first 3.5 weeks, we have already exceeded the number of campuses that were participating. We had 45 campuses participating in 2018. We're up to close to 80 campuses participating at this moment. We've also nearly doubled the registrations, and I know we were waiting for national voter registration and a lot of different data and even actual registration cards to come in. But as of today, we have nearly 17,000 students registered through the ballot bowl, which is really exciting because I know most of the work that I've seen and a lot of the plans happened in October, and we've blown 2018's numbers out of the water already. So in terms of poll workers, California and the rest of the nation are facing a poll worker shortage, and in-person voting locations offer critical resources such as same-day voter registration, ADA accommodations, replacement ballots, and support in various languages. And poll workers can be paid to save democracy. So the exact amount varies by county, but this is something that, and unfortunately, this is a big problem due to the COVID pandemic. And any support, if you are interested in participating and you want to get involved, you want to see how democracy works hands-on, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to participate. And we really need your help. So more information on this program can be found at pollworker.sos.ca.gov. Thank you. Next slide. New resources. So as part of the California Students Vote project, I talked about some of the social media toolkits. The toolkit is found on our California Students Vote page, but I wanted to also point out that all of this, we've tried to make it as easy as possible for you to locate this information, and it can be found on vote.ca.gov. And it is a button on that resource page where you can find the California Students Vote project. In that, you will be able to find the toolkits. You will also be able to find links to our Giphy stickers, gifts, ballot bowl, and a link to the public Facebook group. This is really, really key because it enables campuses and student leaders to share resources. We pretty much share information on a daily basis of some of the best practices information that we're sharing with our office. So this is a really great resource for you if you're looking for more support. And of course, updated toolkits are included as well. Slide, please. This is just a really quick snapshot of what the California Students Vote project looks like in case you're wondering what does it look like and am I on the right page. And then you also can see some of the Giphies that we've prepared. There's many, and actually at this point, a point of pride for us is also that over 1 million people have logged on to review and share some of these Giphies. So that's really from the ideas and the work of our students that are working in-house to get this done. So great work on that end. Next slide, please. And so census, I couldn't do a presentation on the importance of civic engagement and not discuss the census. The secretary is the chair of the California Complete Count Committee. I'm also staffing the census for our office. And I wanted to make sure you knew that the census is wrapping up on September 30th, which is a month earlier than previously reported. We are literally 5 days away from the end of the opportunity for us to get counted. And it's critical for Californians to complete their census form and submit them as soon as possible. One of the ways that we've tried to make it a little bit more fun and engaging is by creating the Census Challenge. This Census Challenge is an opportunity for California's 482 cities and 58 counties to compete for the highest response rate and the most improved response rate. So it's been a really, really exciting way for us to keep track of where we are as a state. Right now, we're number 18th, tied with Massachusetts, and for us to try to get that response rate up. Again, we have 5 days. So if you have not completed your census, please do so now. Next slide, please. And in terms of upcoming dates, so again, September 30th is the closest, most important date that's coming up right around the corner. October 5 through 9, we have National Voter Education Week. October 23rd, we have E15 deadline, which is the last day to update registration online. However, I want to make sure that I really, really delineate this. We need to make sure that you update your registration with your most current information as soon as possible. As many of you have heard, there are potential delays in the post office and mail. The sooner we can have that address on file that is correct and accurate, wherever you can be reached as a student, wherever you may be, if it's at your home or if it's at your dorm or if it's on your off-campus location, we need to make sure that your counties have the most current information because your voter information guides are already in the mail, the first bulk. The ballots should be going out in the next few weeks. So we need to make sure that your address is the address that all of this information will reach you at. So please do so now. The sooner, the better. And again, November 3rd is the general election day. And November 16th, for the people who are watching the ballot bowl, that's the anticipated date for us to announce the winners. Slide. And I believe that's it in terms of our update. We're also here to answer any questions that you may have about how you may participate and how we can be of service.
All right, Henry. Well, thank you, Lizette.
All right, Ben, would you like to, do we want to open it up for questions or would we like move forward?
We'll move forward at this time. If there are any questions, please do put them in the chat. We'll answer them at the end.
All right, you heard him. All right, so thank you, Lizette. I couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you so much for attending to speak today. That was a great slide, great set of information. And I also want to send an appreciation out to Krishni as well for coming as well. So let's give Deputy Secretary Mata and Student Vote Project Coordinator Shankar a virtual round of applause here. So up next, you'll be hearing from California State Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez. Assemblywoman Gonzalez is here with us today to expand upon this narrative, and we'll be expanding upon the value or explaining the value of your vote as well as the consequences of not voting. A believer in voting rights and making voting easier and more accessible for every Californian, Gonzalez authored a law to make vote by mail ballots more accessible to Californians by requiring they be sent with postage paid, in effect banning the 21st century poll tax. She is also currently working on passing a bill to ensure that polling locations are open and accessible on the weekends and expanding educational opportunities on how to vote across California. This advocacy has led her to understand the value of community college student vote, which she will be talking about now. So Lorena, if you would like to talk, this is your time.
Well, thank you. And that was a great update. I luckily heard all that. I hadn't heard about the bowl before, the voting bowl, I guess, the ballot bowl. But thank you. I was asked to speak about what happens if you don't vote. What's the value, I guess, of voting? And we've spent a lot of time over the last few years really trying to take away the barriers to registration, the barriers to voting. But none of that matters if we don't get out to vote. And I think it's always clear during a presidential election what's at stake on the national level. I think everybody knows what's at stake. We also know that in California, there probably is no doubt how the state is going to vote and how those electoral college votes are going to go for our state. But that's not the only reason we're out voting. And I think it's really important, especially as students, to ensure that we're voting and voting all the way down the ticket. And let me tell you why. When you elect state assembly members and state senators, you're electing the people who are deciding what we're going to do with Cal Grants, if we're going to expand them, if we're going to retract them, how much money we're going to spend on them. That's an important feature, I think, for all students, and in particular public school students who in the past few years have been at the forefront of trying to encourage us to expand those and utilize it correctly. When you're electing a county supervisor or a city council member, you're making land use decisions. You're helping decide what's going to happen with public transit, what's going to happen with housing. Housing being such a huge issue, I know, for the upcoming generation, and really trying to ensure that the people who you're electing and the people who are being chosen to represent you represent your values. So if you don't vote, other people make those decisions for you. And who does vote? We know this. We know people who are older tend to vote more. People who are over 65 tend to vote more. People who are white tend to vote more. And so as young people of color, as younger people in general, and as and caring about issues that demographically young people tend to care about, it really does make a difference, because who makes those decisions about the issues you care most about will be determined not just at the presidential level, but all the way down the ballot. And of course, those propositions, which I know you've heard about, you know, we have some propositions on the ballot this year that are just so important. There's so much work went into these things to determine whether we close a loophole on corporate taxes so that we can better fund public education. I think that's something that all of us can agree on. And it's time that we do that with Prop 15. Prop 16, which will bring back the ability to use diversity in hiring, use diversity in college opportunities, scholarships, the ability to bring back diversity as a feature in everything from contracting to anything that the state does. Is that important for you? It should be important for your future. And if we don't get to actually voting on those propositions, somebody else will make that determination. Again, we have an opportunity this year to take away one of the biggest disenfranchisement tools that has been existing in our Constitution. The fact that if you are on parole, if you are a felon on parole, you can't vote. If you're, you know, out of jail, you're paying taxes, but can't vote. That opportunity to reverse that is on the ballot this year. So we have some exciting things, and often we know who will vote. We know that the most consistent voters always are wealthier, older, and whiter. And so they will be making the decisions that matter in all of our lives. If we don't have younger people voting, if we don't have students voting, if we don't have people voting all the way down the ticket. So with that, I really hope you'll take advantage of all the opportunities we've given you to vote this year. You'll get a ballot. You can register all the way up to election day. You can make sure that you have the opportunity to vote as long as you're 18 and a citizen. Let's make sure we use that well. So thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me.
Henry, actually, I'm going to step in here because I am such a big fan of the Assemblywoman. And I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the Student Senate, on behalf of students everywhere at California community colleges. Thank you for all the work that you've been doing, all the work that you continue to do, and we wish you the best of luck with your future endeavors, and hope when we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Thanks.
I very much love your work. So I just had to come in and say that. So
great. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, with Ben's update, I'm just going to reflect that as well. I think all of us can thank you for speaking with us today and taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and meet with us. So let's all give her a virtual round of applause here. Now, going on to our final end of this presentation, or this webinar for that matter, our next speaker is Colm Fitzgerald, a student from Stockton, California. Colm serves as the president of the Associated Students of Delta College, president of the SSCCC Student Trustee Caucus, and a voting member of the California Community College Board of Governors. He's a student of the historic Irish tradition of social justice and believes that every individual is capable of leadership and provides the necessary resources and trust that is always necessary all around. So Colm, if you would like to speak, this is the time.
All right, thanks so much. Can you guys hear me okay? Perfect. Yep. All right, well, I want to start off by, thanking the Student Senate for California Community Colleges for organizing this amazing event with these incredible speakers I'm so fortunate to, speak with. It's a true honor to speak on an issue of such magnitudinous importance. I want to start by asking a simple question. What does it mean to be an American? I've pondered this question a lot recently. I'm sure most of us have. And no doubt, our outlook across the world isn't so good right now. The past 4 years have displayed unprecedented divide in our country. Bitterness, cynicism. But even still, if you listen through the chaos, you can clearly hear the voices of hope. I choose to listen to these voices over all others. America is a land of hope, of opportunity. The golden door for tempest tossed. It's a place that sees the value in a diversity of perspective, that recognizes the task of perfecting our union can only be done when all Americans see the inalienable power in their voice. That is what it means to be an American, I think. A realization that a voice of hope overcomes all odds, that a vision of hope overcomes all challenges, and that a nation united around hope cannot ever wipe from this earth. But we know this vision doesn't always play out. That sometimes being an American feels like a hollow promise. That opportunity often hides for those who need it the most. It's easy to feed into the cynicism we've seen grow in the nation the past couple decades. But we cannot. There are those that utilize that cynicism to maintain the status quo. Those that would rather see you disengaged, tired, hopeless, voiceless. And then there are those who are genuinely, wrongfully afraid of change. And those in power and with privilege take advantage of this fear and fearmonger so that they can maintain their power and privilege. It is our solemn and sacred responsibility to stand in the face of such fear as Americans with hope. even if it seems pointless, especially if it seems pointless. I don't know if you're like me, but I believe that leadership is a quality found deep within us all. That every single individual on this planet has the ability to inspire positive change. That every person is innately good. I see every day in the purple San Joaquin County that we have the capacity to disagree without being disagreeable. That as a people, we lean toward compromise. That we want to understand opposing views. But also, that there are some views we are all unwilling to compromise on. That every individual deserves a shot at greatness. That our liberty is sacred. And that we have an obligation to help those among us with the greatest struggles. Those aren't qualities of Democrats or Republicans, progressives or libertarians, liberals or conservatives. Those are American qualities. So all of us should be able to see how those values have been under attack recently. One look at any recent headline and you'd see. The truth is, many individuals in power don't reflect our values because too many of those in power weren't put there by everyday Americans like you and I. They were propped up by big money, backed by special interests, elected because a lack of confidence in government's ability to solve our problems, spurred by the gridlock and the partisanship, convinced everyday Americans that their voice didn't matter. It's an endless cycle. And the only way to break that cycle is helping others realize their potential to inspire change. And the easiest way to inspire change as an American is through our vote and our hope. Our united belief that better days are coming. Our collective voices calling for those better days. We have no other option to secure the future of our democracy than to get engaged and to stay engaged. To elect representatives that serve our interests and hold them accountable for doing so with our votes. Every new generation is tasked with this responsibility. Hard times aren't new for Americans. It was the greatest generation that braved the Great Depression and fought against fascism in World War II. It was the me generation who led the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s, and Generation X who stood in fierce opposition to the Vietnam War. This type of challenge we face today isn't new. Each generation has a chance to prove itself worthy of the title of American. A stanza in Double Take, written by legendary poet Seamus Heaney, an Irishman, explains this phenomenon beautifully. Quote, "History says, don't hope on this side of the grave. But then, once in a lifetime, the longed for tidal wave of justice can rise up and hope in history rhyme. Now is our chance to surf the longed for tidal wave of justice. Now is our chance to harmonize as one people, as Americans, as hope and history rhyme, one collective voice calling for the dawn of a new day. And all we have to do is vote. That's all. 30 minutes. One vote. Thank you.
Henry?
Yes, I'm here. I'm just trying to work around technical difficulties here. Thank you, Colm. That was an amazing speech, and we do really appreciate you for being here for that. Without further ado, we're going to be moving on to the end of this segment. I've been told that we're going to be moving into questions as well. So Ben, if you would like to curate that or help curate that, we can do that.
Sure. So I will say that there were a few questions asked. I know that Vice Chair Region 8, Shayla, you asked a question. If you do have any more questions, please put them in the chat. Shayla asked, any advice on how to get my local campus involved in registering students to vote, given that my campus hasn't really started any voter registration outreach yet? Any advice about how to maximize the limited amount of time left? Now, I don't know if they'd be willing to, but if either Lizette or Krishni, if they would like to respond, that would be great. If they would, that would be great. I don't want to put them on the spot. Lizette, are you okay with that?
You know, not a problem. I turned myself back on. 1 second.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Cell phone really quickly. So yes, absolutely. So one of the things that we would highly encourage you to do, so each campus is different based off of resources. It has a different point of contact. In some cases, it may be your professor. In some cases, it may be a leader of an organization. It really varies. What I would encourage you to do is reach out, because we may have a point of contact already for your campus. We have a huge database that we've been adding and growing since 2016. So we can let you know who is registered as the point of contact for your campus. And then we can either put you in contact, or if there's nothing that started there, we can reach out to your administrators, remind them about AB 963, the commitment via the partnership, and we can get you toolkits, we can get you information, we can get you logos, infographics, whatever you may need to make this as easy as possible. Sometimes a good reminder to campuses and administrators is all that is needed.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you, Lizette. Shayla, did that answer your question? You can put yes or no in the chat if you'd like. Hopefully it did. Let's see. I have a question from. Okay, perfect. She said yes. Great. I have a question. Actually, another question. Very popular. I have a question from Regional Affairs Director, Region 3, Angelica Campos. How can the individualized colleges encourage students to vote, especially with many students having voter insecurities?
So that's a really great question. I know we face it all the time with just the public in general. I know students probably have the same questions. So one of the things that we're working on is a big campaign that you probably should be hearing about, I'm assuming in the next few days. It's Vote Safe. And we're trying to make it as transparent as of a process as possible, so that you have confidence in where your ballot is and to ensure that it is counted. Something that I would, one, we can help you with social media and toolkits, and our vote.ca.gov has all of that information. It also has information about our Vote Safe campaign. But I think one of the things I did not mention that is important for this group to know about is the Where's My Ballot app or tool that we started for this year. Where's My Ballot allows you to track where your ballot is through the entire process. You can register now with your information, you'll start receiving emails and notifications, texts about your ballot. So for those people who think my vote doesn't count, or I don't know if my ballot's going to be counted, or or you're concerned about your ballot, something happening with your ballot, a mismatched signature, which tends to happen, especially with younger generations and younger voters, I would highly encourage you to download and register Where's My Ballot. And that information is also on our vote.ca.gov page. And Krishni already just included it, so good.
Perfect. Did Angie, did that answer your question?
That actually answered Jen, Vice Chair 2's question.
Oh, okay. Haha. That's cool.
No, I'm just sharing the questions that I see from earlier in the chat with you right now.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Okay. All right. If you had any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you can get recognized with the raise hand function, and I'll unmute you. If there are no more questions, I would just like to. Oh, there is a question from Vice Chair Region 4. Oh wait, no. I think that was answered, but I'll still ask it in case Lizette wants to give a larger, more expanded answer, which is, what can we do to get immediate information out to our region and the community colleges?
So we have some emails drafted and ready to go. So if you have a network of leaders on your campus, reach out to us right now, and we'll flip those to you today. There are emails on the deadlines. There are emails on encouraging your campus to participate. They have all of the links. So we've taken that work off of your plate. Literally, it's a copy paste. You type in your mascot, your school name, your name, and it's ready to go with infographics and design. So that we can get started on today.
Perfect. Catherine, did that answer your question? Great. All right. If there are no further questions, I will be, first, I want to thank Lizette. Thank you for answering some questions, some much needed questions. Oh, one more question from Vice Chair Region 2 from Jen. How can we encourage students to vote, especially in a time like this, and there's the feeling of hopelessness? I believe this was touched on earlier, but just out of curiosity.
That's a tough one. I really, that's a really tough one. As someone personally who has also has gone through, it feels like a roller coaster, right? Especially when we're turning on the TV, we're listening to the radio. It's just a constant communication of feeling like things are going south, or hopelessness, or like, what's it for, right? What I would remind you all, and I even have to do this to myself, I can literally tell you, I have to have these conversations with myself, is that you have power. And one of those ways that you have power and that you can help affect change is by exercising your right to vote. There are different ways that each one of you will want to get engaged. Some of you will want to get engaged because of your family. Some of you will want to get engaged because of your community. Some of you will want to get engaged because of the policies that you're seeing that are affecting your neighbors, your communities directly. Whatever the reasons will vary from person to person, but what is important is that you participate, irrespective of party, irrespective that's irrespective of that. Your reason for participating will be different from the person next to you, but it is important that you exercise the right to vote. In my case, it is I vote because I know so many people in my community who don't have a voice, who in terms of being able to register to vote, they can't because they're undocumented. So I'm passionate about making sure that I share information about issues for my communities. I ask them to participate in the census. But in my case, I vote because I know many people can't. I also vote because I'm a history nerd, and I also know that there are many people who died for our vote. So whatever conversation you need to have with yourself in the morning, you need to, or at night, whatever day it may be, you just need to know that doing nothing is complacency. Doing nothing is accepting that helplessness, that hopelessness that you feel. It is accepting that. And the one thing that you can do to try to make sure that that changes is to vote, to participate, to be counted in the census, and then talk to others to try to change that mindset. Because you're right, there's a lot of things that are going wrong, but that doesn't mean that you have to accept it.
Well, I could not have said that better myself. Probably I would have said it worse. And then, oh, she also did compliment your necklace as well. So she loved the message of it.
Oh, I'm so excited. I just got this. So I've been waiting for it. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited about it.
Well, that's great. Okay. Well, I think that wraps up the questions. If there are no more questions, going once, going twice, sold. All right. Moving on to, yes. So yes, Joey Forsyth is from the Band of Voters, as you'll see from our planning slide moving forward. and she is an incredible resource. I cannot say this more. She and her team are amazing. They are simply incredible with 963, and making sure that Lizette, I'm sure they're an amazing group of people, and so they will be speaking at the Region 5 Delegate Assembly tonight, and to 7 and 8 on the 29th. 7 and 8, Joey, are today, by the way, just letting you know. All right, so I'm going to share the planning slide, and then I'm going to have our moderator, Henry Gardner, wrap up.
All right, thank you, Ben. So sadly, while it has been a pleasure hearing from all of our presenters and answering these questions and so on and so forth, our webinar is coming to a close. So I know I can speak on behalf of the SSCCC today when I say we appreciate all of you for attending and hope this webinar has given you the understanding of why your vote matters. That being said, student advocacy doesn't end here. Getting involved in the SSCCC is one way you can engage with your community and encourage advocacy just like we have done here today. If you would like to get involved, you can volunteer within your region where you can directly affect those we serve. Whether you enjoy graphic design or an excellent communicator, your skills can be put to use advocating for and directly helping our 2.12 million California Community College students currently enrolled across 115 colleges. This can be as a director, a caucus member, or as a member of one of our many system participatory governance committees. These opportunities allow for participation in discussions about policies that affect our students on a statewide level. To get involved in these opportunities, you can visit our website at studentsenateccc.org, and I'm sure Ben will throw that in the chat for you, and click on the Get Involved tab. Additionally, you can find your region, sign up for updates through our listserv, and begin attending meetings across our state. Should you not have too much time but still want to engage, you can attend events and webinars, just like this one. To do this, you can visit our calendar of events on our website under the Events and Meetings tab. That being said, stay up to date with the SSCCC by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So all of those will probably be provided in the chat, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you all. We have had a great turnout and great event today. So I'll now be ending the recording, and please look out for the other session today for the for SSCCC's professional development. We have the transfer through the gate presentation that will be with Darla, the executive director from the RP group, and Alyssa Ewan, who is the director of research and evaluation, and our VPC, Brianna Ross, as well. Also, we have a TCOS presentation and the Institute for College Success and Access from 3 to 4:15, which is great. Also, if you have the app, please download the app if you do not, and fill out the survey for this presentation as well so we can get some feedback. Thank you all for coming. I really, really appreciate it, and thank you.